When I decided to put God first, I thought I knew what to expect. More peace, more clarity, maybe a little less stress. I had this picture in my mind of what a surrendered life would look like. Calm, smooth, guided. And some of that was true, but there were things nobody warned me about. Things that caught me completely off guard. Not bad things, just unexpected things. Things that turned out to be exactly what I needed, even when they didn't feel that way at first. Today, I want to share 5 things I didn't expect when I started putting God first. Not the version people post about, the real version, the one that changes you in ways you never asked for but couldn't live without. Here's what most people think putting God first means. They think it means adding more Bible reading to their morning, saying grace before meals, or showing up to church more consistently. And those things matter, but putting God first goes far deeper than habits. It is a reordering of everything. And when everything gets reordered, your whole life starts to shift in ways you never saw coming. The first thing I didn't expect was that some relationships would fall away. I thought putting God first would make me a better friend, a better family member, a better person to be around. And it did, but it also created distance with people I never expected to lose. Not because I became judgmental or religious, but because I was changing, and not everyone could grow with me. Proverbs 13:20 says, "Whoever walks with the wise becomes wise, but the companion of fools will suffer harm." When God becomes your priority, He begins to refine your circle. Some people drift, some people push back, and that loss is real. It is painful. But I had to learn that not every relationship was meant to last through every season of growth. God was not taking people away to punish me. He was making space for what I actually needed. The second thing I didn't expect was that my old coping mechanisms stopped working. Before I put God first, I had my own systems, ways of numbing, distracting, managing stress on my own. But as I drew closer to God, those things stopped satisfying me the way they used to. The things I used to run to started feeling empty, and for a while, that felt like loss. But Psalm 34:8 says, "Taste and see that the Lord is good." Once you have tasted real peace, real presence, real comfort from God, substitutes stop working. What felt like losing options was actually God recalibrating my hunger. He wasn't taking things away to be cruel. He was making me want what was actually good for me. The third thing I didn't expect was how much harder obedience would feel before it felt freeing. I assumed surrender would feel like relief from the start, and eventually it does. But at first, obedience felt like resistance. Like swimming against a current I had been flowing with my whole life. Saying no to things I was used to saying yes to. Choosing patience when everything in me wanted to react. Trusting God's timing when my own plan felt more logical. Romans 12:2 tells us to not conform to the pattern of this world, but to be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Transformation is not instant. It is daily. And in those early days of obedience, it often felt like struggle before it felt like freedom. But every time I chose God over comfort, something inside me got stronger. The resistance got lighter, and eventually, obedience became the most natural thing in the world. The fourth thing I didn't expect was that silence would become one of God's most powerful tools. I expected more signs, more clear direction, more open doors with neon lights pointing the way. But a lot of what I got in those early seasons was quiet, stillness, waiting, and I didn't know what to do with it. But Psalm 46:10 says, "Be still and know that I am God." I had to learn that silence is not absence, it is preparation. In the seasons where God felt quiet, He was doing something I could not yet see, pruning things I didn't know needed to go, building things that weren't ready to be revealed. The silence was not abandonment, it was trust, and learning to rest in it instead of panic in it changed everything about how I understood God's timing. The fifth thing I didn't expect was the deep, unshakable joy that slowly replaced my anxiety. I knew peace was promised, but I did not expect joy. Real joy. Not happiness that depends on circumstances, but a settled, quiet, anchored joy that stayed even when life was hard. Even when things didn't go the way I planned. Even in the middle of seasons that made no sense. Philippians 4:7 describes it as a peace that surpasses all understanding. And that is exactly what it felt like. Something I could not explain. Something that did not come from my situation, but from my foundation. When God becomes your foundation, anxiety loses its grip because you are no longer standing on things that can shake. You are standing on someone who cannot. Some relationships fell away to make room for the right ones. Old coping mechanisms stopped working because God was recalibrating my hunger. Obedience felt hard before it felt free. Silence became one of God's greatest tools. And a joy I never expected began to replace the anxiety I had carried for years. Putting God first did not make my life perfect, but it made it purposeful. And looking back, I would not trade a single unexpected moment, because every one of them was shaping me into who God always intended me to be. If any of this resonated with you, share it with someone who is in the middle of their own unexpected season with God. And subscribe so you never miss a message that helps you grow deeper in your faith.